Today, we want to show you a prophetic shift that occurred when the Temple Mount came back into Jewish hands, opening the door to the building of the third Jewish temple.
The war in Israel marked the beginning of a dramatic chapter, with the construction of the Third Temple now underway. Recently, a powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck central Israel, adding to the tension. The Third Temple, seen by many as a sign of the return of Jesus Christ, is being built on the highly disputed site of the Dome of the Rock, igniting lethal conflicts. Are these developments symbols of hope or threatening warnings of darker days ahead? Join us as we explore why, according to some beliefs, Jesus must return before the Antichrists take over. The tug of war over the holy city. The construction of the Third Temple is seen by some as a divine act, meant to follow the destruction of the previous temples. This new temple is significant for Christians, as it is tied to the return of Jesus Christ and the resurgence of sacred traditions. However, its planned location is where the Dome of the Rock currently stands, a site of great religious and political tension, revered in Muslim tradition. After waiting for years, the possibility of the Third Temple's construction filled many with happiness, reviving the hope for the return of a cherished symbol. However, this happiness was short-lived, interrupted by natural disasters. Jerusalem, a city no stranger to adversity, was hit by heavy rains and earthquakes, similar to the recent calamities that affected Turkey and Syria, reminding everyone of the city's vulnerability. During these challenging times, a remarkable event occurred. Lightning struck the top of the Dome of the Rock, lighting up the area. This event coincided with severe earthquakes that shook the area, destroying ancient structures, including a castle over 2,000 years old, and forcefully reminding us of our fragility. At 4:17 a.m., the earth near Jerusalem shook violently with a 7.7 magnitude earthquake, felt far and wide. Amidst the destruction, there was a frantic push to save those trapped under rubble. Time was running out, made even more desperate by the bad weather and dropping temperatures, which threatened the lives of those still trapped. There was, however, a silver lining, as the Dome of the Rock remained largely intact despite the chaos. Though some minor damages occurred, such as the dislodging of some tiles, the structure's resilience was a small solace. The Al-Aqsa Mosque also had previously seen stones fall without major damage, reinforcing the strength of these iconic buildings. Near the Prophet's Gate, which is always closed, a few stones also fell. Such occurrences raise questions about their deeper significance. Are these events symbolic of the predicted return of Jesus? Is this God's way of signaling his return to this holy land? Jerusalem stands as a symbol of unity and conflict among the world's three major monotheistic religions, each possibly seeing it as a reason to assert dominance over the others. The city's history is marked by a series of conflicts, including wars and crusades, each layer adding to its deep historical significance. Despite its turbulent past, or perhaps because of it, Jerusalem remains a central point of spiritual and political importance, echoing with the deeds of its 3,000-year history since being established as the capital by King David. Jerusalem holds a unique place in the hearts and minds of millions around the world, making it a city unlike any other. It is sacred to the followers of three major monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For Jews, Jerusalem is the land promised to their ancestors, Abraham and Moses. It's where their ancient temple once stood, symbolizing their special agreement with God. Christians revere the city as the site of Jesus' death and resurrection, central events of their faith. For Muslims, Jerusalem is known as Al-Quds, the Holy One, significant as their third holiest city, and a former focal point for prayers before Mecca took precedence. These overlapping religious connections are deeply intertwined with the city's political importance. Both Israel and Palestine lay claim to Jerusalem as their capital, embedding it in a web of nationalistic and religious fervor. The significance of Jerusalem is not merely a matter of faith, but also central to the identity and political ambitions of both Israelis and Palestinians. After Israel declared independence, it quickly moved to establish Jerusalem as its political and cultural heart. Government buildings, like the Knesset, were built there, anchoring the state's modern identity to the city. More than just administrative centers, These structures and the ceremonies held there also serve to express the Zionist vision, a secular reimagining of ancient Jewish aspirations. New monuments and memorials sprang up, each reinforcing this modern interpretation of Jewish destiny and independence. These sites are not just reminders of the past. They are bold statements of a reborn Jewish state and its ties to this historic land. They symbolize not only religious redemption, but also a national reawakening, as envisioned by the Zionist movement. This modern view reshapes the traditional religious narrative, focusing on political sovereignty and cultural renewal in place of ancient prophecies. Jerusalem becomes more than a city. It represents a tapestry of deeply held beliefs and intense political strategies. Every stone and street has multiple meanings, each layer of history revealing different dreams and battles. The city is a focal point where past and present, heaven and earth, politics, and religion meet. The competing claims over Jerusalem have led to a complex tug-of-war, where each group's vision for the city's future seems to conflict with the others. This struggle is not just local, it echoes around the world, influencing foreign policies and international relations. The religious and historical importance of Jerusalem, combined with its political significance, makes it a symbol of broader global conflicts and aspirations. This mesh of beliefs and politics makes Jerusalem not just a city to be governed, but a symbol to be interpreted in various ways by different people. Each interpretation adds another layer to its already rich history, making the city a living, breathing entity, pulsating with the hopes and frustrations of countless individuals. These layers make understanding Jerusalem complex, as each one reflects a different aspect of human hope, divine connection, and earthly politics. Now, let's see how political Zionism has reshaped Jewish identity through the lens of Israel as the modern Third Temple, the sacred ground and tectonic tensions. Political Zionism has reshaped the idea of Jewish identity by focusing on returning to their ancestral land and rebuilding their nation, which is symbolized by the State of Israel as the modern manifestation of the biblical Third Temple. This vision transforms Israel from just a nation into the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, with every monument and shrine woven into a narrative that either supports or questions traditional Jewish views of salvation, particularly as these views relate to the sacred Western Wall. Jerusalem is more than just a city. It's seen as a fulfillment of God's promise, validated by historical conquests and the building of temples, placing it at the heart of Jewish religious and national life. Yet the city also follows a prophesied pattern of triumph and destruction, with the Messiah's arrival heralding another fall of the temple, a repeating cycle of rise and ruin embedded in the city's history. The Rock in Jerusalem holds deep significance, not only in Judaism, as the site where Abraham almost sacrificed Isaac, but also in Christianity and Islam. It is believed to be the foundation of Solomon's temple and the point from which Muhammad ascended to heaven. This makes Jerusalem a magnet for religious devotion, drawing pilgrims and stirring conflicts due to its sacred status in multiple religions. As Israel navigates its identity, it confronts its mythic past alongside the gritty realities of today's political landscape. Plans for peace, including those that involve designing a new temple detailed as though ordained by divine forces, often meet the harsh truths of ongoing regional disputes. The idea of rebuilding the temple and resuming ancient sacrifices is tangled with beliefs in a final divine judgment, anticipated in Jerusalem by different faiths, a shared vision that still highlights a common yearning for the divine and an end to human conflicts. Meanwhile, Israel's geographical position at the meeting point of several tectonic plates serves as a metaphor for its historical and present challenges. The area's frequent earthquakes symbolize both the physical and metaphorical tremors that the nation endures, each quake a testament to the land's vulnerability and the steadfast spirit of its inhabitants. The story of Israel, therefore, is one of navigating between its sacred legacies and the pressing demands of current geopolitical dynamics, marked by the struggle to live up to divine expectations in a world full of complex modern realities. The coexistence of ancient promises with modern challenges marks Israel's unique position in the world, its land steeped in biblical prophecies, yet also caught in the throes of contemporary political, social, and environmental issues. The overlapping spiritual claims to Jerusalem not only add layers of complexity, but also illustrate the deep connections and tensions between different cultures and religions. As such, Jerusalem remains a focal point not only for historical reverence, but also for contemporary peace efforts that seek to reconcile these ancient disputes with the needs of a modern state. These efforts are further complicated by the city's profound historical and religious significance, which casts a long shadow over any political solutions. The persistent dream of a restored temple in Jerusalem ties directly into the broader religious and national identity of Israel, intertwining with the country's very foundations. Yet, the ongoing debates about how, when, or even if this should happen reflect the broader challenges facing a nation built on both heavenly promises and earthly realities. As Israel continues to balance these dual aspects of its identity, it must also navigate the inevitable tensions that arise from being a sacred center sought by many but held closely by those who see it as their divine heritage. Throughout history, natural disasters have often been interpreted through the lens of various religious beliefs, turning these events into moral lessons or divine warnings. In Israel, which sits on the fault lines of tectonic plates, these religious interpretations are deeply embedded in the culture. Earthquakes happen because of natural movements in the Earth's crust, like slipping plates or underground explosions of steam and gas. Many religious views suggest these events are messages from God, urging people to reflect and repent to understand the deeper reasons behind such disasters. These traditions, earthquakes, are seen as tests of faith. They challenge people to show their strength and trust in a divine plan, reminding everyone of their vulnerability and need for divine mercy. The period following a disaster is viewed as a chance for spiritual development and for communities to strengthen their bonds. It is said to be a time when people show unity, compassion, and support for the affected, demonstrating key religious values of charity and love. Today, there's a growing discussion on how to reconcile scientific explanations of natural disasters with religious interpretations. Many religious scholars promote a balanced view, arguing that knowing the scientific causes of disasters doesn't lessen the spiritual insights they can provide. An approach that respects both scientific knowledge and religious wisdom is seen as beneficial. It leads to better disaster readiness and response efforts that consider both the practical and spiritual needs of those impacted. The history of natural disasters in Israel shows a blend of tragedy and resilience, highlighting how religious beliefs interact with the natural world. As nature's power continues to be evident, faith plays a crucial role for many, not just invoking awe for the natural forces, but also fostering a spirit of compassion and unity in tough times. However, the conversation gets especially heated around the topic of the Third Temple. King David, a significant figure in Jewish history, once had a temple on what is now known as the Temple Mount, a site of immense importance to Jews. Yet this site is also incredibly sacred in Islam, known as the Haram al-Sharif, home to the iconic Dome of the Rock. This overlap leads to a contentious situation called the Temple Mount controversy, much like two siblings fighting over the same room. Building another temple here could provoke serious conflicts. Despite teachings of peace from religious figures like Jesus, pursuing a project that could lead to conflict contradicts those teachings. Next, we examine the tense realities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and its deep roots in sacred history. The earthquakes that shook biblical narratives. The intricacies of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict add another layer of complexity. Everyone hopes for peace in the Holy Land, but actions like building on the Temple Mount might disrupt this fragile peace. Conflicts could arise around this deeply significant area, which sometimes escalate during important religious observances. This ongoing tension keeps the region divided. Palestinians, especially those in the West Bank and Gaza, face difficulties accessing the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount. As guardians of one of Islam's holiest sites, they find themselves often defending its sanctity against perceived threats by Israeli authorities. This highlights the tangled political and religious dynamics surrounding the Temple Mount, a place where the aspirations and historical grievances of two peoples meet. The Temple Mount is a focal point for both devotion and conflict, reflecting the deep-rooted beliefs and historical narratives of multiple religions. For Jews, it is the most sacred site in Judaism, central to their religious and national identity. For Muslims, it is the third holiest site in Islam, housing the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. This charged atmosphere means every part of the area holds significant historical and emotional weight, serving as a reminder of the long-standing conflicts and divisions in the region. While some believe in the prophecy of building the Third Temple, the political and religious challenges are significant. Believers should focus on fostering peace, as taught by religious figures like Jesus, rather than contributing to conflict. The most important temple is built on principles of love and understanding, not discord and division. As the world faces periods of upheaval, reflecting on peaceful messages becomes crucial. These are times of change and disorder, believed by some to be influenced by greater forces aiming to create chaos and fear. The old prophecies, like those from Isaiah, warned of turbulent times marked by natural disasters as signs of divine judgment, suggesting a need for reflection and unity in facing the challenges ahead. Throughout history, earthquakes are often mentioned in the Bible as signs of God's anger or ways he shows his power. These events are used as signals of something important happening, especially when God wants to make a point about punishment or his presence. For instance, the sixth seal in the book of Revelation describes a massive earthquake that happens along with strange signs in the sky. This event is straightforward in its description, focusing mainly on the effects these signs have on people on Earth. The story starts with an earthquake, a common way the Bible shows that God is about to do something significant. Earthquakes appear in various stories in the Bible, not just as phenomena, but as clear signs of God's interventions. For example, when God wants to show his power, or when he is particularly upset with people's actions. In stories like those found in Judges and Psalms, earthquakes accompany God's appearance. More dramatically, in the story of Korah and his followers who challenged Moses, God uses an earthquake to punish them by making the ground swallow them whole. In another psalm, the description of the earth shaking reflects God's anger vividly. The book of Isaiah talks about a future event where God shakes the heavens and earth as a punishment for evil, showing a cosmic reaction to human wrongdoing. This idea continues in Revelation, where earthquakes happen at critical moments, marking the unfolding of major events like the resurrection of two important witnesses, the announcement of Christ's reign, and the final acts of God's wrath. These earthquakes are not just simple disasters. They symbolize important moments and are timed to highlight significant biblical events. The final earthquake described in Revelation is so powerful that it changes the landscape entirely, making islands and mountains disappear. This dramatic event seems meant to finally make everyone pay attention. However, the reaction from people is not fear or repentance, but defiance, which suggests a deep stubbornness in humanity. It raises the question, why would an all-powerful being need to use such dramatic displays? Perhaps it shows a level of frustration with humanity. The use of natural disasters in these stories could be seen as a method to force people to recognize divine power and authority. It seems like an extreme way to communicate, using fear and awe to maintain order. The earthquake that happens at the time of Christ's resurrection, as mentioned in Matthew, also has a symbolic meaning. It is not just a physical shaking, but represents the significant impact of Christ's teachings and his resurrection, which were meant to shake up the spiritual life of the world and signal a new beginning. This event foreshadows a future event, when all will be resurrected and judged. One could view the frequent use of earthquakes as a reflection of divine dissatisfaction with human disobedience and moral failure. These stories use the imagery of the earth itself, breaking apart to announce divine actions or to pave the way for monumental changes. This dramatic element in the stories emphasizes the power of God and serves as a reminder of the consequences of defying divine will. By using natural disasters like earthquakes as metaphors for divine intervention, the Bible underscores a critical view of human nature and highlights the awe-inspiring and sometimes fearful aspects of divine power. The translation into Persian was quite inaccurate, leading to significant confusion and fear among the readers. This reaction was mainly due to the dramatic events described: an earthquake and the arrival of an angel from heaven, believed to be Gabriel. This Gabriel is known for his important role in Christian theology as the messenger who informed the Virgin Mary of her role in the birth of Christ, and he also appeared to the shepherds to announce Christ's incarnation. He's considered the same angel who supported Jesus during his time of anguish in the garden. This idea doesn't clash with the writings of other evangelists like Luke and John, who mention two angels at the tomb of Christ. Matthew's text only speaks of one, but does not deny the possibility of another's presence. Moving on, we explore how biblical stories use natural disasters as divine signs during key moments, the angelic act at dawn. The angel's task was to roll back a heavy stone blocking the entrance to Jesus' tomb. This stone had been put there under the orders of Joseph and sealed by Jewish authorities to secure the tomb. This act of moving the stone was likely done to clear a path for Jesus' resurrected body to leave the tomb. While some might think that Jesus could have simply passed through the stone with his resurrected supernatural body, this isn't a widely accepted view. It is true that Jesus could have easily moved the stone himself or made it vanish and return, similar to how he later managed to enter a room with locked doors where his disciples were hiding without opening the doors visibly. However, the choice to have the angel move the stone might have been made to show a clear, undeniable act of divine power. This act was meant to be a visible proof that Jesus had indeed risen from the dead, countering any speculation that his body was stolen, or he hadn't actually come back to life. The angel moving the stone, rather than Christ passing through it, emphasizes the physical reality of the resurrection. It wasn't a ghostly or spiritual-only event. It was a physical return to life that defied natural laws. This choice highlighted the physical aspects of Jesus' resurrection as a crucial element of the event, intended to be observed and recognized as miraculous. It underscored the breaking of the natural order and the establishment of a new reality through divine intervention. The movement of the stone was a symbolic act that reinforced the miracle, ensuring that the resurrection was understood as a tangible and transformative event, changing not just the spiritual, but also the physical world. It served as a powerful statement against the skeptics and doubters of the time, affirming the truth of the miraculous events that had unfolded. The story is set up with an angel moving the stone from Christ's tomb, which doesn't take away from God's power, but instead fits perfectly with it. This wasn't just for show, it had a practical reason. It allowed the women who were coming to the tomb to get inside, as they were wondering who could help them by moving the heavy stone. More than that, the presence of the angel served as a clear sign that Christ was no longer there, he had risen. This was also a cue for the guards, who could go in and see for themselves that the tomb was empty if they dared to accept what had happened. But the angel moving the stone wasn't just about giving access or proving a point. It was deeply symbolic. It showed that Christ had successfully paid the price for the sins of humanity. He had carried these sins, suffered on the cross, died, and was buried as if he were locked up for them. Now, the moving of the stone marked the end of his time in the grave, showing that the debt was fully paid. This wasn't just a freeing of Christ's body from the tomb, but a freeing of many people from the consequences of their wrongs. This element of the story isn't just thrown in. It's a strategic move to make sure everyone, both followers and skeptics, understands the magnitude of what happened. The angel's actions weren't random, but meant to touch the hearts of all who heard the story, ensuring it was not only believable, but also relatable. The angel didn't just open the tomb. He highlighted the massive shift that Christ's sacrifice had started in the spiritual world, clearing a debt of wrongdoing that no one else could. The narrative is crafted to resonate on multiple levels: practical, evidential, and symbolic. Each aspect is designed to reinforce the central theme of redemption and transformation that lies at the heart of the Christian faith. It's a meticulous setup, aiming to bridge gaps between doubt and faith, despair and hope, by illustrating not just a miraculous event, but a turning point that offers a new beginning to all of humanity. This approach isn't just about recounting an event from the past. It's about connecting that moment to the ongoing experience of redemption and renewal that defines the spiritual of countless individuals. The story goes that an angel was sent from heaven to roll away a stone from Christ's tomb, symbolizing that all debts of sin were paid in full. This angel didn't just roll away the stone, he then sat on it, claiming the area as under divine control, untouched by natural or human forces. This dramatic gesture wasn't just for show. It served as a bold statement, a clear sign that what happened was the work of heaven, not earth. This heavenly being wasn't just sitting there. He was also sending a message to the Roman soldiers watching over the place, daring them to challenge his presence. He was guarding the tomb, ensuring that no one could falsely claim that Christ's body was still there. His role was to wait for the women who would soon arrive, ready to tell them the joyous news of Christ's resurrection, a pivotal moment meant to be shared with heartfelt enthusiasm. Different accounts from the Gospels, Mark, Luke, and John, present varying details about these angels. In some stories, they are standing. In others, they are seated. This inconsistency might suggest that each telling of the tale has been adjusted, perhaps to better suit the people hearing it, like a director tweaking a scene in a film to get a stronger reaction from the audience. The story's elements are fine-tuned to enhance its appeal and impact. Now, we look at how the Gospels tell the story of Christ's resurrection, blending heavenly actions with human stories. A tale of promises and power in Sinai. The act of the angel sitting on the stone, then later appearing in different poses and playing slightly different roles across the Gospels, seems less like a continuity error and more like a narrative strategy. It's as if those recounting the tale modified it to ensure it struck the right chord with their listeners. By exploring these variations, we're not undermining the faith people have. Instead, are recognizing how stories evolve to meet the needs of their audiences. Every adjustment in the recounting adds layers, enriching the story, making it more relatable and powerful. The presence of the angel is not just to herald the resurrection, but to protect the integrity of the story itself. His role is to prevent any doubt from creeping in about the truth of Christ's rising, to maintain a solid foundation for faith. This exploration allows us to see the blend of divine inspiration and human storytelling at play. It shows us how tales of great significance are polished and shaped over time, tailored to inspire, reassure, and resonate deeply with those who hear them. The variations in the Gospels reflect a deeper understanding of human nature, of our need for stories that not only teach, but also touch the heart and stir the soul. When the women first arrived at the scene, an angel casually sat on the tombstone, seemingly out of nowhere. Soon after, another appeared, both standing by as if part of a well-rehearsed play. They gestured for the women to come closer to the grave, and then sat down strategically, one at the head and the other at the feet, positions where Jesus' body had once been laid. This performance, though deeply spiritual to some, had an air of contrivance, as if every move was calculated for effect. This scene mirrored an ancient event from the Israelites' history. On the exact date of their escape from Egypt, as described in Exodus 19 verse 18, they found themselves in the desolate Sinai wilderness. Here, under the immense shadow of Mount Sinai, they set up camp. Moses went up the mountain alone, where God's voice would later boom from above, delivering a set of high-stakes instructions. God's words to Moses were forceful and clear, laying out the terms of a covenant with a tone that was almost businesslike. Tell the house of Jacob and explain to the sons of Israel, you've seen what I did to Egypt, how I showcased my power and supposedly carried you to safety on eagle's wings. Listen to me, follow my commands, and keep my covenant. Do this, and I will make you more special than any other nation. You will be my treasured possession, valued above all others on earth. This divine dialogue, while majestic, was laced with an undercurrent of manipulation, promising ultimate rewards for unwavering compliance. The appearance of angels at the tomb was similar, awe-inspiring yet orchestrated to instill loyalty and belief. Both events were staged with a grandeur designed to impress and persuade, each miraculous manifestation carefully crafted to maintain control and affirm authority. The recurring theme in these divine interactions was a blend of spectacle and governance, using awe as a tool to enforce a hierarchy masked as benevolence. Each heavenly act, though cloaked in the promise of divine love and protection, seemed designed to solidify a power structure, with the supernatural serving more as a means to command obedience than to offer genuine sanctuary. The pattern of using grand displays to secure allegiance was unmistakable, a tactic repeated throughout religious history to cement a celestial yet authoritarian order. When Moses brought the elders of Israel together, it was not just to share a message from God, but to create a powerful display of authority and control. He declared they were to become a kingdom of priests, a holy nation, a command that sounded grand, almost like a king setting the laws for his kingdom. The people's response was immediate and unanimous. We will do everything that the Lord has spoken. This unity might appear impressive, but it raises questions about whether their agreement was out of genuine devotion or simply because they felt they had no other choice? What do you think about the People's Pledge at Sinai? Was it genuine or coerced? Like, comment and subscribe to join the discussion and share your views.